I've been driving trucks for close to 11 years now. Mostly east-west freight, nothing too fancy. I like the solitude, honestly. A big cab, a steady hum, and miles of asphalt. It's the only time my mind feels quiet. But every now and then, something happens out there that sticks with you. This happened in late September of 2021. I was hauling a dry van from Tucson to El Paso, running I-10 at night to beat the heat. The run was supposed to be simple: drive straight through, rest in El Paso, back on the road by morning. But somewhere near the Arizona-New Mexico border, I started to feel off. Not tired exactly, just off. It was around 1:30 a.m. when I decided to pull over at this tiny rest stop I'd never noticed before. No name, no gas, just two ancient vending machines, one flickering floodlight, and a single bathroom building that looked like it had been abandoned since the 90s. One other semi was parked there, dark and quiet. I figured the driver was asleep in the back. I set the parking brake, shut off the engine, and reclined my seat to stretch a bit. I hadn't been stopped for more than 10 minutes when I heard a knock on the passenger side window. It made me jump. I sat up fast, not sure if I drifted off or not, and turned toward the sound. Standing there was this kid, maybe 10 or 11, barefoot, shirt dusty, jeans too short for his legs. His hair was a mess and his face looked pale in the bluish floodlight. He didn't look homeless, exactly. More like he just wandered too far from somewhere he wasn't supposed to be. I cracked the window a couple inches. "Hey there, you okay?" I asked. The kid looked up at me, eyes wide and glassy. "Can I ride with you?" "Ride? Where's your folks?" "They left me," he said. Said they'd be back soon. That was before it got dark. That made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up a little. I looked around. The other truck was still dark. No cars had pulled in. There weren't even tire tracks in the lot besides mine and the other rigs. I glanced down at him again. "You're here by yourself?" He nodded. "They said wait here, but they're not coming back." "All right," I said, trying to keep calm. "Why don't you hang tight? I'll call someone to come help." That's when his face changed. His eyes narrowed just a little. "That's what the last driver said." I paused. "Last driver?" He nodded again, this time slower. He said the same thing. Then he went inside the bathroom. I waited for him to come back. He never did. Something cold twisted in my gut. I looked over at the building, a squat, cinder block restroom with a rusty door barely hanging on its hinges. No lights, no sound, no sign of life. I hadn't noticed it earlier, but there was something weird about the concrete pad leading to the door, like dark streaks dried into the ground, almost like drag marks. I turned back to the kid. "What's your name, buddy?" He hesitated. "Doesn't matter." Then, without another word, he turned and walked around the front of my truck toward the bathroom. I reached for my flashlight in the center console, grabbed the door handle, and climbed down. "Hey," I called after him. "Where are you going?" He didn't look back. Just walked straight to the bathroom door, opened it, and stepped inside. I followed, scanning the area with my flashlight. Every instinct told me to get in the cab and leave, but something wasn't letting me drive away. Maybe I was worried he'd hurt himself in there. Maybe it was morbid curiosity. I don't know. The inside of the building was even worse than I expected. The tile was cracked, the sinks were dry and crusted with rust, and every mirror had been shattered. There were just 2 stalls and a urinal, all of them coated in grime. No sign of the kid. I called out, nothing. I pushed open both stalls. Empty. I checked behind the door. No one. I walked back outside into the pale blue light. No kid. No footprints. The gravel was undisturbed, like he'd never even been there. I jogged around the lot with my flashlight, even checked behind the other truck. It was completely empty, hadn't been started in days. The license plates were expired. Its tires were nearly flat. And the weirdest part? Its doors were unlocked, but the cab was full of dust. I mean thick, like no one had been inside it in years. I climbed back into my own truck, locked the doors, and sat there for a long minute, trying to piece together what the hell had just happened. I was about to start the engine when something made me glance at my passenger seat. There, sitting neatly on the vinyl, was a little canvas sneaker. Just one. Mud-caked, worn through at the toe. Not mine. I hadn't unlocked that side of the truck once. That was enough for me. I started the engine, threw it in gear, and didn't stop until I was well into New Mexico. But here's the part that really gets to me, the thing that made me write this down tonight. Last week, I stopped at a truck wash near Deming, same stretch of highway. Another driver, older guy, long haul from California, struck up a conversation while we waited. He mentioned pulling into a tiny rest stop near the border and how it gave him the creeps. I asked him what happened. He said a kid knocked on his window around midnight, asked for a ride, said his parents had left him there. The driver offered to call someone, and the kid said something weird. That's what the last driver did. I asked him what he did next. He said he left right away, but when he checked his cab the next morning, he found a single canvas sneaker tucked neatly behind his seat. I never told him my story, and I still have mine. It's in a box under my bunk. I don't know why I keep it. Maybe I just need proof I didn't imagine it. I haven't stopped at any unmarked rest stops since, and I don't talk on the CB after midnight, because whatever that kid is, he's still out there, waiting for the next driver who thinks they're doing the right thing. Story 2. I drive long haul, mostly overnight runs between Texas and Arizona. It's lonely work, but I've learned to like it. The hum of the road, the freedom, the weird little places you only find off the interstate. Most nights I sleep in the cab, but when I'm really run down, I'll pull into a truck stop with showers. You'd be surprised how clean some of them are. Others, not so much. This story happened about 9 months ago. I was running a load of automotive parts from El Paso to Flagstaff, and I hit a wall somewhere outside Lordsburg. Just pure exhaustion. My eyes were playing tricks on me. I'd started talking to myself, and my body felt like it was vibrating from the hum of the engine. I pulled into one of those old TA truck stops off a frontage road. Not one of the chains, more of a rundown independent place. The sign was flickering so bad I could barely read it. Just said hot showers and diesel in faded letters. I parked around back where a few other rigs were idling. The store itself looked empty. Just one guy behind the counter, some old cowboy watching a mini TV next to the coffee machine. I asked for a shower key, and he handed me this heavy-ass keychain with a metal tag that said number 6. He also said something like, "Don't stay past the hour." We cut off the hot water automatically. I nodded. I didn't plan on taking a long one. Just needed to feel human again. The hallway with the showers was down a narrow side corridor, kind of grimy. A few ceiling tiles water-stained, lights buzzing. Showers 1 through 5 were on the right, and number 6 was alone at the end on the left. When I opened the door, it looked fine, basic but clean enough. Concrete floor, molded plastic bench, one of those motel-style dispensers with 3-in-1 shampoo that smells like hospital soap. I was maybe 5 minutes into the shower when I heard something weird. It was this faint scraping sound, not like pipes or dripping water, more like something brushing or dragging along metal. I figured maybe it was another driver in the stall next door. Except, there was no next door. I was in the last one, remember? Shower number 6 was on the end, with a wall behind it. I turned off the water and listened. Nothing. Just the thrum of the building and some echoey classic rock playing faintly from the main store speakers. I figured I was being paranoid and toweled off. As I was getting dressed, I noticed something behind the trash can in the corner, like a vent cover. But when I looked closer, it wasn't a vent. It was a low, square metal panel in the wall, about 3 feet high and bolted shut at the corners. Not something you'd normally see in a bathroom stall. There was no label, no lock, just a kind of recessed handle. Now, I know I probably should have just left it alone, but I was tired, foggy-headed, and something about it bothered me. It felt out of place. I pulled the trash can aside, crouched down, and tugged on the handle. The panel opened with a horrible creak. Inside was a crawl space, narrow, dark, and lined with old pipes and electrical conduit. It ran horizontally behind the stall, just barely tall enough for someone to crouch walk through. I stared into it for a long second, heart thudding. And that's when I noticed the scratches. Inside the metal frame, along the edge of the opening, were fresh drag marks, like someone had been pulling themselves in and out with their fingernails. There were even black smudges on the floor, not dirt, something slicker, greasy. I touched one without thinking and instantly regretted it. It smelled like rot. That's when I heard it again. Scrape, scrape, shuffle. But it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside the crawl space. I slammed the panel shut and backed away so fast I almost slipped on the wet floor. I got dressed in record time and practically ran down the hallway barefoot with my boots in my hand. Back at the counter, the old guy barely looked up. I handed him the key, trying to play it cool, but I must have looked shaken because he gave me this long, unreadable stare and said, "You hear something in there?" I paused. Then I said, "You ever been in stall 6?" He didn't answer for a second, just went back to flipping his little TV dial. Then he said, "Ain't no cameras back there." Never were. That line stuck with me. Still gives me chills. I left fast. Didn't even bother with coffee. Just got in the truck and drove. Ran 2 red lights getting back to the highway. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I blinked, I imagined that panel creaking open again. Imagine someone crawling through that space, knees and elbows scraping metal, watching me from behind the wall, breathing softly while I showered. And here's the part that really ed with me. About a week later, I was at a different truck stop near Albuquerque. Nicer place, lots of traffic. And I got into a conversation with a guy at the counter, another driver who looked about my age. Somehow we started talking about sketchy rest stops and weird stuff on the road. When I mentioned the one outside Lordsburg, his whole face changed. He asked, "Old place with the blinking sign?" I said, "Yeah." Then he told me, "Man, you're lucky. A girl went missing from there a couple years back. Her rig was still out back. Nobody ever found her." I asked if there were cameras. He shook his head. Then he said something I'll never forget. They found her boots in the ceiling crawl space above shower 4. I didn't ask any more questions after that. Just quietly paid for my food and got back on the road. I haven't used a public shower since. Not once. I'd rather stink for 3 states than pull another key off a dirty plastic hook and wonder who might be waiting behind the wall. Story 3. I've been an over-the-road trucker for about 11 years. You get used to the weird hours, the isolation, the empty stretches of America that feel like something out of a different decade or a different world entirely. This happened in 2021 during a solo haul from Tucson to Houston. I was hauling aluminum tubing, pretty lightweight stuff, and I had time to spare, so I took the scenic route, US Route 90, which runs parallel to I-10 through a lot of nowhere in West Texas. I've always liked it better than the interstate. Less traffic, more sky. It was mid-September, just after 2 a.m. when I saw her for the first time. I was about 40 minutes west of Sanderson, just driving through that hypnotic blackness, radio low, coffee cooling in the cup holder. The road was dead straight, desert on both sides, and my headlights barely reached the dusty shrubs lining the shoulder. That's when I noticed her. She was standing in the median, not on the side of the road, but right in the center of the divided highway. Long black hair, pale skin, barefoot, just wearing this thin white dress that hung to her knees. She wasn't hitchhiking. She didn't even look scared, just still, staring straight ahead. It caught me off guard. I slowed down a little, thinking maybe she was lost or hurt. But as I passed, she didn't move. She didn't even look at me. Her eyes stayed locked straight ahead, focused on something behind my truck, or maybe through it. I called it in on the radio, just in case anyone else was nearby. Got a possible 10 to 56 female in the median, eastbound Route 90 near mile marker 236. White dress, no shoes. Someone might want to check that out. No one answered. I wasn't surprised. I hadn't seen another vehicle for at least half an hour. I figured I'd report it officially once I hit Sanderson. But about 10 minutes later, I saw her again. Same girl, same white dress, same dead stare, standing in the median. I hit the brakes hard this time, enough to make the trailer creak. I sat there in the cab for a few seconds, watching her through my side mirror. She hadn't moved. She was still staring forward, or maybe at me now. I wasn't sure. It made no sense. I'd been going 60, maybe 65. There was no way she could have gotten ahead of me on foot. I looked at the GPS. I hadn't made any turns. I hadn't doubled back. I hadn't stopped. The road was straight, flat, and empty. I even checked my dash cam playback real quick. It showed both sightings. Same girl, same spot in the median, just 10 miles apart. At that point, I started to feel this weird pressure in my chest. Not pain, exactly, just tight, like my body knew something I didn't. Still, I kept going. What else was I gonna do? I passed her a third time 20 minutes later. She was closer to the truck that time, maybe 4 feet from the shoulder. Her hair was wet. I swear to God, it was dripping onto her collarbone, even though the air was bone dry. No sign of water anywhere. I didn't slow down that time. I didn't look directly at her, either. I just kept my eyes on the road and muttered some panicked prayer under my breath. I started seeing lights in the distance around 3:15. Sanderson's a tiny town, but that night it looked like Vegas. I pulled into the first gas station I found and parked under the canopy like my life depended on it. The cashier gave me a weird look when I walked in, probably because I was pale and shaking. I bought a Red Bull and a bag of pretzels I didn't want, just to have something in my hands. I asked him if there'd been any reports of a woman on the highway, someone walking barefoot in the median. He just blinked. You mean the girl in white? I stopped mid-sip. You've heard about her? He nodded, slow. People say they see her out there sometimes. Always alone, always barefoot. One guy said she was crying. Another swore she smiled at him. I asked if anyone knew who she was, if maybe she was a missing person or had died out there. The cashier just shook his head. No one ever found anything. Not even footprints. She's been seen for years, but no one ever gets close. I left that gas station with my heart thudding like a jackhammer. I waited until the sun was up before I got back on the road. Even then, I kept my speed steady and my eyes forward the whole time. I thought I was in the clear, no more sightings, no more weirdness. I made it to Houston the next day and tried to shake it off. I even convinced myself maybe it was exhaustion or some kind of desert mirage. But about a week later, I got a call from a buddy of mine, Kyle, another long hauler I'd known for years. He sounded shaken. Dude, he said, you ever haul through West Texas? Route 90. I froze. Yeah. Why? He was quiet for a second. Then he said, I saw this girl. Pale. Black hair. White dress. She was standing in the middle of the damn road at 3 a.m. Man, I thought I'd hit her, but when I looked back, there was nothing there. I didn't know what to say. That was 2 years ago. I still drive that route sometimes, but only during the day. And even then, I always glance at the median. Because one time, just for a second, I thought I saw her again. Only this time, she was walking toward the shoulder.